A minimalist lifestyle here at the Village Farm Tiny Home Community in Central Austin is a dream for Melissa Pontiff. And now, for her, the demand for affordable living in tiny homes is already paying off.
Because of the housing crisis, there's waiting lists to get one of these tiny homes now. The value has gone up about $40,000.
2 years ago, we were selling homes at $89,000, $90,000. Now our least expensive home is gonna be $160,000.
For Pontiff, she says the lower costs are still worth it in this competitive housing market. But what about other affordable options that are being swept up in the demand? So across the street from the tiny homes are 128 mobile homes being built. 100 of them are already spoken for, and management tells us it really goes to show the demand for these types of homes.
Very nice people.
Joseph Moreno has lived near the shooter's grandmother for decades. Her home still taped off by law enforcement.
You ever seen anything like this before?
Never. I saw a lot of death and everything, but in Vietnam, not here.
His daughter is the principal at Robb Elementary, and his granddaughter was also at the school when the deadly shots rang out.
When she texted me that she was doing okay, and then I asked about my granddaughter, and she said she's doing okay too.
A sleepy city of roughly 16,000 people, Uvalde is the kind of place where everyone knows one another.
This is how this town is. We look after one another for our kids.
Hope Luna works at a nearby motel. She had to come in after her coworkers all called out, all of them affected by the shooting.
My heart goes out to each one of them. I know it's painful.
Luna says her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend grew up with the shooter.
He was just a normal kid, just like any others. Didn't seem to have any issues, they said, so he had friends.
She, like the rest of her neighbors, now wrestles with questions and heartbreak.
It's hard, and now especially with these young little kids, angels, that just began their lives, and now they've been taken away.
It started as an open mic night in Austin in 2013.
Then I got a call back for a gig.
Nearly 10 years later, Scott Strickland is promoting his first album.
Could have had me in the summertime.
I can't believe where it's come.
But he and others are still dealing with pandemic fallout, hitting a bottleneck as they all rush to secure shows.
Helping them stay here so that we can keep that moniker.
And just trying to clear as much of a path as we can.
Sheila Beagley is picking up pieces of her home, addressing one need at a time as they continue cleanup from Monday's tornado.
We started a list this morning. You know, we come across little things. Oh yeah, we need to check this. We're going to have to look at that.
Like many of her neighbors, she's going to need roof repairs.
There's going to be a lot of roof work that needs to be done.
Our roof got completely taken off. They are tarping it. Hopefully they'll replace it here pretty soon.
There's a lot of people out here.
Tyler Esquivel with Paul Davis Restoration says roofs are usually repaired within a week.
The roof is pretty quick.
And won't be delayed much by construction supply shortages or a spike in demand in the area since it's an isolated incident and contractors can pull from elsewhere.
And there's a lot of places that also sell the material.
Repairing structural and internal damage could take longer than usual though.
We've got a huge hole in the side of the house.
For like water mitigation, restoration, and reconstruction, that's going to take a little bit longer. That's where your delays will come in for some of the lumber shortages and the materials.
Esquivel says the bigger problem is cost, skyrocketing with the supply shortage paired with inflation.
Where 2 years ago this would be fully covered, but now it's either going over the coverage just due to material.
In the meantime, Sheila's trying to stay positive, even with her neighbor's trailer in pieces on her lawn.
This morning we were just laughing and I just wrote the sign, you know, trailer for sale, needs work.
Most Instagram stories, TikTok videos, or a chat on apps like Discord usually seem pretty harmless at first glance. But dangerous threats and posts on these apps, like we saw earlier this past school year at local Central Texas school districts, are disrupting learning and mental wellness for students like Acacia Spradling.
It happens and nothing is being done, nothing is being said.
Spradling is using her voice to advocate for a better school monitoring system of online social media threats because a seemingly small threatening post resulted in her needing inpatient psychiatric treatment.
They had pushed me and taken stuff out of my backpack and threw it under the bus.
She says online threats called her a clown because of her makeup. The anxiety and sadness caused by these threats got so bad, she was hospitalized for 2 weeks.
They started doing like social media mass texts, and they'd be like, well, who drove her to try and commit suicide?
Before more people cause harm to themselves or others, she suggests some solutions. First, she says students and teachers should speak up. Second, while resources are limited, she hopes school leaders track threats online.
If they follow those pages and like actually looked deep into like what they're posting, what they're saying on there, like it's not hard to just create an account and then look at somebody's story.
A Safe School Initiative report by the U.S. Secret Service and the Department of Education shows most school shooters claim they were victims of long-term bullying. And researchers at the Brookings Institution, a nonprofit public policy organization, found almost half of those who perpetrate K-12 shootings report a history of rejection and bullying. Spradling's mom says the change starts with monitoring social media at home, but with the recent mass shooting in Uvalde, it might be time for stronger legislation.
I am a person that's usually like, I don't need the government telling me what to do and stuff like that, but there's certain situations where yes, if we're gonna make a change, it has to be some drastic measures.
Some local districts have turned to Gaggle to monitor students' online activity. The company's clients include Austin ISD, Round Rock ISD, and Eanes ISD. The CEO provided KXAN with data revealing incidents of threats of violence towards others has skyrocketed 209% since 2019. His staff is seeing hit lists and manifestos. For Texas schools, Gaggle sent 26,000 alerts so far this past school year. 4,000 of those were harassment and bullying, 13,000 for suicide and self-harm, 8,000 for indications of violence towards others.
For every month.
The Texas School Safety Center is the clearinghouse for safety and security information for all schools throughout the state. Center staff invited KXAN to its 2022 conference this week to see how they train educators, administrators, and school police to assess digital threats through public posts and pages. While school behavioral threat assessments have been mandated by the state since 2019, digital threat assessments are not.
It's not a part of the law. Could it be a part of the law and be a little more outward-facing? It absolutely could.
Brian Clayson manages curriculum and instruction for the Safety Center. He says since most students are on social media, digital threat assessment training is a critical piece in school safety to prevent dangerous acts. He adds, though, it's hard to legislate an issue that starts at home.
Know what your kids are on, how they're using it, and understand the protections or the lack of protections that a social media app or an online video game provides or doesn't provide.